All right, well, Joe, welcome to another mortgage update with Mike and Joe. We're here in May. Already May. I can't believe
It's May. It's not going to be May. It's May.
It is May. We need, obviously, as an aside, we're all looking forward to some sunshine.
Yes.
I know I can't wait, but summer will be here soon enough. So
Mayflowers are coming. April showers that bring Mayflowers. So
they
still
still are coming up. I know we've got a lot of tulips at our house right now. They look really nice.
Daffodils are popping.
Yep.
Buds on the trees.
Buds out on the trees. Everything's green. I mean, really green.
The grass is getting high.
Yep. So, all right. So, Joe, Bills just completed their draft. What's your, if you had to give it a grade, an A was outstanding, and F was a fail.
It depends if Brandon Bean's listening to this or not. I don't want the critique that he made of the WGR folks.
Fair enough.
But, I think they did well. I think we didn't lose the AFC Championship game because of our offense.
Right.
So I think stocking up on some big guys on defense, a couple good corners. It's what we needed. I think it's what we need to kind of shore up. We got Josh Allen on one side, so doesn't matter who he's throwing the ball to, we can get it there. But as far as defense, we needed some of that defense there.
There's no doubt. I watched a good chunk of it, and they did make, I think, some really good defensive picks. All right, so Joe, obviously big weekend, Mother's Day.
Mother's Day weekend.
Mother's Day.
We got the Ronda Coit soccer tournament for our family. So Happy Mother's Day to my wife. We will be on the soccer field all day on Sunday and Saturday, and a game on Friday as well.
It looks like the weather's going to be decent on Saturday afternoon and Sunday.
Come in with a nice tan on Monday.
It'll be nice. Exactly. We need it. We need it. So, yeah, again, for all the mothers out there, we wish you a happy Mother's Day. Hopefully you get the treatment that you deserve. And my wife just wants to be left alone. And so that's what we're going to do. So her wish.
It's always a battle.
It's always a battle.
It's always a battle on Mother's Day. You guys, if your kids are young, you can't get them to do the right thing. When the kids are older, you probably still can't get them to do the right thing. So
just bring flowers.
That's it.
Just bring flowers. So Joe, lastly, before we start talking about the market, I would be remiss. I know you had a new member of your family, Teddy the dog. So you got two.
Got a new puppy, 7.5 months old. Whipping the other dog in shape. So we'll see. They're getting along well so far.
Yep.
Keep you guys posted if that changes. But
that'll keep you on your toes. So, all right. So let's talk real estate. Obviously, the market's still roaring. Obviously, we continue to see a lot of activity, a lot of buyer interest. But Joe, can you share kind of any changes that you saw relative from March to April now as we move into May?
Yeah, we've been tracking this for a while, and it's always an interesting shift when you see it kind of go up and down. So in March, our average list price for Monroe and surrounding counties was $274, almost $275. In April, we saw that go up to $277, almost $278. However, we finished the month averaging 12.37% over list, which was down from 17.5% over list in March. So slight increase in list price, but a pretty big decrease in the average over list. Now, why? Probably because there's more inventory on the market. Right? We're seeing throughout the month of April and leading into the beginning of this month in March, we've seen quite a bit of inventory pick up and good inventory where your buyers have more options, so there's less competition. There's still a lot of competition, less on some of these houses. So we're seeing some of those price points kind of settle in a little bit, which is usually the case. We actually had this year, and we've talked about it a couple of times, we had a real winter, right? There was, for the months of January and February, there really wasn't a lot on the market from a listing perspective. What was going very high over ask, was going for a lot of money. And so as inventory starts to come onto the market, we start to see the market kind of shift a little bit. In that sense. In Monroe County on its own, list price remained about the same. Average over list went down slightly from 16.9% to 14.2%. Average dollar amount over list also decreased as well. So, again, same thing in the localized Monroe County area. When we look out in Onondaga County and surrounding, as has been the case as in the past, a tale of two cities. So March, we averaged 7.31% over in Onondaga and surrounding, it dropped to 3.04% under
Really?
in Onondaga and surrounding. So,
Okay.
and when you zoom in on Onondaga on itself, 11.27% over, down to 2.41% under. So again, kind of a little bit of a shift there,
Right.
As you know, a little bit more dramatic of a shift than we saw in Monroe and surrounding,
Yeah.
but still a shift.
And Joe, just to remind everybody, I know that we, compile this data on a monthly basis. It's on our website. Also, your GRB loan rep can provide you with this data as well, so you can push that out. So, and again, it's just to remind everybody, this data we compile by zip code, so it's very helpful to help coach your buyers and your sellers in regards to what's going on in the marketplaces currently, as we can provide. So
So I mean, one of the things we did, Mike, was just we wanted to take a look at some historical data because we talk a lot about what's going on today, but what were things like in the past and why we're seeing what we're seeing today. So the GRAR has some great data on their website, and so we went back and pulled some of this data. So in 2015, so we looked back at 2015 in March of 15 versus March of 2024. And in March of 15, there were 4,157 homes for sale. In March of 2024, there were 1,081.
wow,
And that was up from 953 in 2023. So
that's a dramatic difference.
yeah, the median sales price, and again, we're looking at 2024 compared to 2015, not 2025. Median sales price was 130,000 in 2014. It was up to 234 in 2024. 21,000 new listings in 2015 versus 13,936 in 2024. A 3.9 month supply to a 1.1 month supply. So we talk about these numbers regularly, but these are really, I mean, when you think about that, right, the amount of homes for sale, we are in truly a supply and demand. And, as you look across the country, you've seen the supply and demand shift. If you look at Florida's got houses sitting on the market. If you're thinking about buying a second home, now would be a great time to buy a second home in Florida because there's opportunity. It's more of a buyer's market than what we're seeing here today in Rochester.
Correct.
As we're still in that seller's market, heavy competition. And then when we look at Onondaga and surrounding, we went back to March of 2020 versus March of 2025. So in March of 2020, 129.9 was the average list price. 2025, 222.5, so up almost $100,000 there. There were 1,643 homes for sale in the month of March of 2020, down to 608 in 2025. 446 closed sales versus 380, and 611 new listings versus 502. So, again, when you look back historically and look at where we are today, you can see what's driving some of this price activity and the supply and demand challenges that we're seeing.
Joe, it's interesting. This is near and dear to my heart. It's like I started with GRB about 10 and a half, 11 years ago. And just to see this progression, you think about 10, 11 years ago, the average price, 130,000. If you bought then, and then obviously, you held that home. I mean, you almost doubled your money in that time period. So real estate, still a good investment. Make sure you talk to your realtor, your lender. But this data, I think, is really it's really tells the story of what's going on.
Yeah, and so one of the things we like to talk about on here is what's going on with interest rates. So you give everybody a little bit of an update on kind of what we've seen from an interest rate perspective, kind of what the tariffs have meant, and
yeah, I think it's been as much as there's been so much in the news, right? I mean, every day there's something. There's a tweet. There's something's going out in regards to the tariffs. The dollar, the stock market, the bond market. All that being said, rates have really gone up or down by no more than about 0.25%. Really, like the past 30 to 45 days. So even in this backdrop of just daily news that comes out that could move the market a lot, we really haven't seen a tremendous amount of movement with rates. That being said, Joe, I believe it's this Wednesday, the Federal Reserve meets to kind of decide whether or not they're going to move short-term rates or not. Obviously, a lot of folks believe they're just going to stay the course and aren't going to move.
Yeah, and you think about, I mean, the CPI reading last month was 2.4 or 2.6%. Last year that would have brought rates down quite a bit.
Right.
And this year, because of that uncertainty and that volatility, they're still kind of like, we're going to wait and see what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out. But I think we've kind of settled, like you said, in this kind of 0.25% yo-yo up and down.
Right.
Rates aren't moving drastically. We're not seeing the big shoot ups, knock on wood, and we're not seeing the big drops either.
Yeah. And again, this is just, we typically talk about this each podcast, but just a reminder, talk to your GRB loan rep about, the Rate Relief Plus program. If you want to get a lower rate for that first year, that option does exist. We actually, Joe, just remind everybody of our Rate Relief program, which, again, if you think at some point rates might drop, it's a great program.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, guys, this, podcast is really just to give some context to what's going on within the market, maybe take a little longer term lens at looking at the marketplace. But again, still a great time to buy a house. Rochester, Syracuse, upstate New York, really is a phenomenal place to live and own a home. So talk to your realtor, talk to GRB. We're looking forward to working with you. And again, for all of the moms out there, have a great Mother's Day.
Yeah. Thank you for all you do.
Okay. See you.